How do you pronounce that name? I'm good. I'm good. I've never seen you here before. Xantia, okay. I was a little bit hungry, so I got pretzels and olives. I have a lot of stuff planned for today, for this stream. That's because I only just started following you a couple months back to watch Fundamentally Lonesome Roads. That was an old Andy Griffith movie called The Face in the Crowd. He played a character called Lonesome Rhodes. My brother showed me that recently. But that's cool. So you watched Fundamentally Loathsome. Well, I'm working on the third one. I'm working on number 3. I'm writing it. It's going okay. It's interesting. Mechanical Animals is all about emotions. That's the interesting thing about that. I think Mechanical Animals is like the most amazing artistic statement Manson has made. It's not my favorite Manson album, but it's probably my favorite Manson art piece, I guess. I've been working on this one. When I've done my work of day, and I row my boat away down the waters of Loch Tay, as the evening light is falling, and I look towards Ben Lors, where the afterglories glow, and I dream on 2 bright eyes with a merry mouth below. She's my beauteous Nian Roi, she's my joy and sorrow too, and although she is not true, but I cannot live without her, for my heart's a boat in tow, and I'd give the world to know why she means to let me go as I sing hurry hurro. I forgot I have a capo on. I'll do the next verse without it. Nian Roi, your lovely hair has more beauty, I declare, than all the tresses fair from Killeen to Aberfeldy. Be they lint, white, brown, or gold, be they blacker than the sloe, they have no more worth to me than a melting flake of snow. And her eyes were like the gleam o' the sunlight o'er the stream, and the songs the fairies sing sound like the songs she sings at milking. But my heart is full of woe, for last night she bade me go, and the tears began to flow as I sing hurry hurro. I mean, to be fair, it is when I think he is the hottest in Mechanical Animals. I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, he was certainly the most fabulous during Mechanical Animals. He kind of made himself look ugly for most of that early part of his career on purpose. I think to him, his ugliness had a beauty to it, and he could appreciate the beauty of it. But for most people, it was still pretty ugly. Not his fans though. His fans seemed to think he was pretty hot back then. But Mechanical Animals was the one moment where he actually was like, yeah, I'm actually gonna kind of look good. I have another really good one that I've been working on. My pinky felt weird there. When I was a young apprentice and less than compass mentis, I took leave of all my senses. With a maid I fell in love. Her ringlet so entwined me, Aphrodite smiled it blind me. Cupid's arrow struck behind me, and her father owned a pub. It was there I met my nemesis at her father's licensed premises, like the seraphim of Genesis at Mary Ann McGuire. Arrayed in fine apparel, astride a porter barrel, she looked the sort of girl that would fill you with desire. All the turtle doves were cooing as I took to my wooing, her loveliness pursuing in the springtime of that year. But she thought I should be older and more gallant and much bolder. In the uniform of a soldier, 'tis then she'd hold me dear. In extremis and euphoria, I joined with Queen Victoria for a spell of death or gloria, fighting with the Boers. To the wind I threw all caution, I'd return with fame and fortune, and together make a portion of matrimony's chores. On the gravestone of her mother, she swore she loved no other, but I would soon discover that she played me for a Burke. For Lady Luck had beached me, and intelligence had reached me, whilst I'd been overseas that she had married to a Turk. Well, me I then deserted to find the girl who flirted. Back to Ireland I reverted, for my jealousy was roused. In Maguire's pub in Derry, I caught him making merry, with his arms around my Mary as together they caroused. So I took my time and waited until his thirst was sated, and home he navigated through the streets of Derry town. At his lodgings he stood knocking, and whilst they were unlocking, I put a stone into a stocking. On his head I brought it down. It was then the night's serenity was rent with loud obscenity and Ottoman profanity that I couldn't understand. With an oath he made to grab me, with full intent to stab me, but as he tried to combat me, I was screaming up the Strand. All around the town's perimeter, he chased me with the scimitar, a powerful passion limiter to an errant in his pride. Through the waterside he chased me, to the bridge of Foyle he raced me, and at Derry Quay he faced me, so I jumped into the tide. Sure bravery's no virtue in some heathens trying to hurt you, and all noble thoughts desert you when you see his curly knife. for. There's plenty things worth trying for, and occasionally worth lying for, but there's bugger all worth dying for, so I'll stick to the soldier's life. Oh, I'm so glad I nailed that last scale at the end. That's usually, if I'm gonna mess up in that song, that's the part I mess up on, and I nailed it. Don't know if I can open up. Didn't open enough. Don't know if I can open up. I'm not a birthday present. I'm aggressive. The past is over. Now passive seems so pathetic. Are we faded, faithful, or fatal? Are we faded, faithful, or fatal? I'm feeling stoned and alone like a heretic, and I'm ready to meet my maker. Oh, I'm feeling stoned and alone like a heretic, ready to meet my maker. Lazarus got no dirt on me. Lazarus got no dirt on me, and I'll rise for every occasion. I'm the Mephistopheles of Los Angeles. Don't know if I can open up. Been open too much. Double-crossed and glossed over in my pathos. Are we faded, faithful, or fatal? Are we faded, faithful, or fatal? I'm feeling stoned and alone like a heretic, and I'm ready to meet my maker. Oh, I'm feeling stoned and alone like a heretic, ready to meet my maker. Lazarus got no dirt on me. Lazarus got no dirt on me, and I'll rise for every occasion. I'm the Mephistopheles of Los Angeles. faded, faithful or fatal? Are we faded, faithful or fatal? I'm feeling stoned and alone like a heretic, and I'm ready to meet my maker. Oh, I'm feeling stoned and alone like a heretic, ready to meet my maker. Lazarus got no dirt on me. Lazarus got no dirt on me, and I'll rise for every occasion. I'm the Mephistopheles of Los Angeles. I'm the Mephistopheles of Los Angeles. All right, let me get into some other stuff besides playing guitar. There's one video that was on my list for the 2,000 subscriber stream that I never got around to watching. Never got around to watching it. It was a video about the German NSDAP. The National Socialists. Which I don't really know a whole lot about. I know basic overview stuff about them. But I thought it would be interesting. I thought this video would be interesting because it has an interesting title. National Socialism was socialism. Rethinking World War II history. That's kind of a heretical belief, isn't it? Although, it depends on who you ask. If you're talking to a Republican, then yeah, of course, National Socialism was socialism because they want to associate socialism with Hitler. But I'm not really sure what the take of this particular channel is. I'm not sure. Is this a right-wing channel? Because usually history channels are not right-wing. Usually they're scholarly. And, you know, the truth is not right-wing. It's not exactly left-wing either. It's usually somewhere in the middle. Yes, we're talking about Nazis. I prefer not to call them Nazis. Because, well, it's kind of, from what I understand, it was kind of originally a more pejorative thing to call. It's like calling Japanese people Japs, you know? Like, you can call them that as a nickname, and maybe it'll be mildly offensive. But I kind of, I'm not, here's the thing, like, I'm not against offending them. I just think that, like, it's not the term I want to use in regular speech when I'm just referring to them. I don't want to always have to be using a term that was kind of invented to make fun of them, you know? It's Nazi is a little bit pithy, but it's also just not a word that sits right in my mouth, like Nazi. That's why I say Nazi instead of Nazi. I don't like Nazi is even harder to say. It like puts my mouth in a weird position. Not Nazi. I don't like it. Yahtzee, that's easier to say. Like the board game. It's not even a board game. It's a dice game with little cards. So yeah, I usually just call them NSDAP, or if I'm referring to their ideology, I usually just call it Hitlerism, because National Socialism more broadly is not necessarily the same thing as Hitler's specific variety of National Socialism, which is a common misconception. And
the thing about the NSDAP is that it became Hitler's party. Hitler named it the NSDAP. It was just the DAP originally. It was the German Workers' Party. But once it became the NSDAP, it still had a certain amount of diversity in it as far as opinion went. But after the Night of the Long Knives, pretty much, it just became about Hitler and what Hitler wanted to do and his goals and interests and whatnot. And you pretty much had to agree with Hitler or you weren't going to be in the party. And so I just call that Hitlerism at that point. The ideology of Hitler is Hitlerism. And that's a word that we use. That's an academic term that exists. So I see no reason not to use it. So if I'm referring to the ideology, I'd just say Hitlerism. If I'm referring to the people, I'll call them the NSDAP or the German National Socialists. Usually I won't call them Nazis, although sometimes I will. Anyway, I just think I'm just curious what this video is going to be.
What is National Socialism? National Socialism. National Communism. Whoa, wait a second, what? Yeah, let me explain. According to Marxists, modern society is capitalist, and communism is the goal. Socialism is what happens on the way to communism. Yes, I'm being super simple here, but you get the basic gist. For Hitler, socialism was the goal rather than the transition period. So, yeah, Hitler is actually moving towards communism. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. And in reality, the Soviets never...
Yeah, I mean, sure, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about Hitler's ideology. But one thing I do know is that he really hated communism. And that ill will did extend toward regular socialism, too. That actually makes a lot of sense. What makes sense? I'm curious.
reached true communism. So they were socialist as well. So when you look at the history of the Second World War and the Axis-Soviet front, you have to realise that this is two separate socialist states going at each other. And this seems to be one of the biggest and most fundamental misunderstandings people have about the Second World War. They think it's a far-right versus far-left war. But is this really the case? Well, actually no. It's actually quite difficult to tell the difference between National Socialism and Soviet Socialism because they're both socialist states with authoritarian leaders. And this is, in fact, a historical debate. Were these two states the same or not? And, well, this isn't as crazy as it sounds when you realise that Marxist socialism is but one variant of socialism, because socialism is a spectrum in itself. Hitler was as much a socialist as Marx. They both shared the same ultimate goal, the socialization.
I disagree, though, with the premise that Hitler being a socialist would mean he's not far right. What you were saying before you started the video? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to view it, personally. But anyway, yeah, I would disagree with the premise that Hitler being a socialist means he's not far right. I think those two things can be true at once. I think you can be a socialist and far right, because right versus left, it's not a linear spectrum. And so many people try to oversimplify it and make it into that. You can be far right in one sense and far left in another sense. And that doesn't make you a centrist. It doesn't make you some sort of moderate. It just means you're an extremist in different ways.
Of the people into a harmonious community free of exploitation, but they differed significantly in the methods required to achieve it. The origins of National Socialism lie in the pre-Hitler German Workers' Party. People like Rudolf Jung, Karl Hara, and Anton Drexler defined what National Socialism was. Hitler wasn't the guy who invented it, he just sold it to the masses. The Munich version of the German Workers' Party was founded on the 5th of January 1919 by Drexler and Harrer. Even at this point, the name of the party was up for debate. Drexler argued that the word socialist would show solidarity with the working class and keep ties with the other German National Socialist parties in other states. On the other hand, Harrer argued that the word socialist shouldn't be part of the title because, by not having it in the title, this would reduce middle-class hostility towards the party. And without the word socialist in the title, they could present the case that they were advocating social welfare rather than social equality. But the reality was they were doing the latter. Once Hitler became the leader on the 24th of February 1920, the German Workers' Party was renamed. It became the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Yes, the word socialist was added back into the title by Hitler himself. The new Nazi flag, the black swastika in the white circle inside a red field, was created by him as well.
This is what we just covered. We just talked about this.
Socialist flag with a white nationalist flag and a pro-Aryan anti-Semitic flag inside.
And the three colors, red, white, and black, were also the colors on the German Empire flag. So he wanted to make a connection between the Third Reich and the Second Reich by using those three colors, because the color of the Republic flag is the same as we have in modern Germany today. It's the red, black, and yellow. The yellow, I think, was more drawn out of the old Holy Roman Empire days, the First Reich. But Hitler was not a fan of the yellow. He wanted to bring back the white. He thought it was more striking and better looking.
As well. But this was both socialist, nationalist, and racist. We National Socialists regard our flag as being the embodiment of our party program. The red expressed the social thought underlying the movement. White, the national thought, and the swastika signified the mission allotted to us, the struggle for the victory of Aryan mankind, and at the same time the triumph of the ideal of creative work, which is in itself and always will be anti-Semitic. Also, on the same night that the party was refounded came the 25 Points, the only published National Socialist German Workers' Party manifesto. Points 1 to 3 demand national unity for all Germans, points 4 to 8 were directed against the Jews and recent immigrants, and points 9 to 21, almost half of the points, were socialist in content. These aim to bring about social welfare, nationalisation of the industry, and land reforms, and so on. Hitler had his hand in all of these points. When Hitler came to power, the government got rid of trade unions, but replaced them with the German Labour Front, a state-owned body which promoted cleaner working environments, better canteen food, factory renovations, and social security for the unemployed. This was socialism. Similarly, the party's Strength Through Joy, or KDF policy, saw state-subsidised holidays for all social classes. Cruises, activities, and excursions
Sounds good.
all were popular with the people. And this is the point. When you hear people say that the Nazis did good things prior to the war, they're talking about these socialist policies. Why? Because this was a redistribution of wealth which benefits the working class. Hitler wanted an economy that could control without owning, thereby removing the need to...
If it didn't have all of the racism and genocide and ultra-conservative social engineering, you know, the far-right stuff, it would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Annihilate the entrepreneurial classes within a civil war, as the Bolsheviks had done. He regarded Marx and Lenin as having the right outcomes in mind, but had gone about the project in the wrong way. When the Munich Putsch failed in November of 1923, the National Socialist German Workers' Party basically disappeared. Hitler then wrote Mein Kampf inside Landsberg prison. And did you know that Mein Kampf is a bestseller in the United States on the Kindle? Just wanted to point that out. But it's also available online for free, so everyone can get a copy of this book and take a look, assuming you haven't got a copy already. But my question to all of you who have a copy of this book, have you actually read it? And did these guys...
I've only read the first part of it. I read up until he starts becoming anti-Semitic, and then I just kind of, I don't know, I kind of got bored. What the thing is, I don't think he did a particularly good job in that book, from the stuff I read, of explaining his transition into anti-Semitism, because that was actually one thing I was looking forward to reading about. Was I wanted to hear his perspective on that, like what actually convinced him. And it was really weird because in Vienna he was this kid who was just having a hard time. Just, he didn't have a home, didn't have any family. He was really a young man who was down on his luck, and I think a lot of people who get into white supremacism are in that. Stephen Mystery says, LMAO, what'd I miss? I sing a couple songs, and we're watching a video that it was actually on this playlist for me to review on my 2,000 subscriber live stream, but I didn't get around to it. It's about Hitler. The thing is, he actually kind of lived a life that I think a lot of white supremacists live, where he was just down on his luck in hard times, didn't have anyone in his life to fall back on. And so he needed guidance. And initially he got interested in politics, and initially he joined the Social Democratic Party in Vienna. And he was exposed to a lot of anti-Semitism at the time, but he didn't get it, and he didn't agree with it. And so he would have conversations with people where he would actually say, well, what exactly is it that's so bad about the Jews? They seem like all right people to me. And he would try to convince people to abandon anti-Semitism. But then the turning point that he wrote about was he was walking through Vienna one day, and this Jew walked past him, and he just smelled horrible. And something in that experience triggered this reaction in Hitler, and he's very honest about it. Like, he admits that this weird illogical thing is what got him interested in anti-Semitism. It's like, it's embarrassing that he admits that, but he does, and he doesn't see anything wrong about it. It's very strange when you're reading it and you're like, what? Why would he write this? It reads so stupid, but apparently it didn't seem that way to him when he was writing it. And then he gets into anti-Semitism, and he starts reading about it and learning about it. But he doesn't really, in that book, he doesn't really explain what exactly were the arguments that convinced him, from what I remember. Now, maybe he explains that later in the book, I don't know. But I just remember I got to that point, and I was trying to read it, keep reading it, and I just found myself losing all sympathy for this guy, because he was like, now I hate Jews. And then I changed my mind and started hating Jews. Blah, 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 blah. But there wasn't any real story behind that, other than he ran into one who smelled bad. So I would like to read the rest of the book. I'd like to read it again someday, and I hope that he explains himself better. It's weird because, I was listening to that guy Cultured Thug, who's the fascist on YouTube, who advocates for non-white supremacist fascism. But he used to be a white nationalist. And it's strange, he still has like a weird kind of anti-Semitism and respect for Hitler, even though he doesn't identify as a white nationalist anymore. It's kind of weird. I think that there's more to that guy than meets the eye. I think he might be kind of lying in some way. I'm not sure, because I listened to an interview he did on this white supremacist podcast where he was agreeing with everything the guy was saying, and he was saying a bunch of racist stuff. So like, I don't get why he's claiming he's not a white nationalist anymore when he seems to be totally cool with that stuff still. But anyway, I was listening to him talking on that podcast, and they were like, anyone who's actually read Mein Kampf knows that, like, Hitler is nothing like the way he's portrayed. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I didn't read the whole book, but like, I read enough to see that Hitler was exactly the way he's portrayed. Like, what am I missing? Maybe it was something else in the book that I was missing, but like, the stuff that I read was like, yep, that's the Hitler we all know and love. At least he admits his racism is completely irrational. Well, he doesn't admit it's irrational, but the story he tells is just clearly irrational, and so it's very strange. I've met a lot of fascists who reject white nationalism. It's an interesting rebrand. Well, yeah, a rebrand, it's kind of a rebrand, but it's also kind of not, because I think that fascism from the beginning was not about race. But yeah, I mean, there was that whole subreddit, Fascism Reclaimed, that died a few months back, but it was an anti-racist subreddit.
Actually read it as well. The answer is probably no. Why? Because it's terrible. And I'm not just talking about the racism and whatnot, which is just awful. I'm talking about the writing itself. It rambles on and on, going over the same point several times, and is probably one of the worst written books of all time. It's like a cross between...
Wow. I'm kind of glad he said that, because I was kind of feeling the same way, which is why I put the book down. It's just like, God, like, I know Hitler's a smart guy, but like, if you could fucking write a little bit better, I might be able to understand your position a little bit more, you know? And it frustrated me because I was just listening to those white nationalists talk, and they were like, yeah, Mein Kampf, great book. I read it when I was in prison. It changed my life. Hitler's nothing like he's portrayed. And it's like, what are you talking about? What did you see that I didn't see? Jesus.
Shakespeare, Dickens, and Tolkien. The gibberish.
Oh, I got one chapter into Mein Kampf, and I couldn't force myself to keep going. It was so poorly written, he couldn't stay on one topic for more than a paragraph. Yeah, I don't remember that, but I do remember not being able to get through it. I got through Mussolini's autobiography just fine, but Hitler's... I don't know, man. And it sucks because Hitler actually has a really interesting story to tell. But I guess he just wasn't a great writer.
Just goes on and on, talking about the same stuff over and over that's not important, and leaves the reader wondering why they bothered reading in the first place. But I'll come back to the rambling later. The point I want to bring up now is the definition of National Socialism by Hitler himself, which he finds throughout the book. So, don your monocles and prepare to read from Ziphiora. The readiness to sacrifice one's personal work and, if necessary, even one's life for others shows its most highly developed form in the Aryan race. The greatness of the Aryan is not based on his intellectual powers, but rather on his willingness to devote all his faculties to the service of the community. National Socialism is a community where Aryans help each other. The Aryan lives for the state, and self-preservation gives way to the community and the greater race.
Very, very, very similar to fascism there. You can see why German National Socialism is considered part of the fascist movement, because that's basically the fascist doctrine as well.
The spirit underlying this attitude is expressed by the word work, which to him does not at all
Arbeit.
signify a means of earning one's daily livelihood, but rather a productive activity which cannot clash with the interests of the community. For the work which the individual performs is not the purpose of his existence, but only a means. His real purpose in life is to better himself and raise himself to a higher level as a human being. But this he can only do in and through the community, whose cultural life he shares. National Socialism allows people to earn a living, but they're all working towards a higher cause, the race. And the community and the race and the state come first. Therefore,
Yeah, I guess the only difference with fascism is that fascism said nothing of race in its doctrine. It was about nation. But there's obviously an intersection between race and nation. And so it's very easy to see how one ideology can go hand in hand with the other.
for National Socialism is absolutely not capitalism. It's more like a beehive. Individuals and even businesses are working to produce honey for the leader so that the race as a whole may survive. They don't like foreigners, and there can only be one queen bee. And if you rebel or if your business doesn't fit the mould, the leader, the state, can get rid of you for the good of the greater Aryan hive. So let's talk about this Aryan business. Hitler says animals breed with their own species, crossbreeding is not allowed in the animal kingdom, and when it happens the offspring is sterile. Because the stronger must dominate the weak, there is a natural urge for there not to be any mixing of breeds. Therefore a superior race should not intermingle with an inferior one, and this is when he starts talking about the Jews. With the Jewish people, the readiness for sacrifice does not extend beyond the simple instinct of individual preservation.
Weird generalization, because you could say that same thing about many so-called Aryans. Like, you think that Aryans don't believe in that they aren't out for their own interests, for their own individual preservation. And also, one thing you can say about Jewish people historically is that they do have a lot of racial nepotism. Like, Jews will get other Jews into jobs that are really important and powerful and lucrative. And they'll prioritize the interests of other Jews over Gentiles. That's one of the reasons why there's so many successful Jews, is because they had that racial nepotism. So, I mean, that doesn't necessarily say much about self-sacrifice, but it does say that they have a sense of racial community about them, which is the trait that Hitler wanted to attribute to Aryans, but really I think Jews have a better claim to that than Aryans do.
Jews act in concord only when a common danger threatens them or a common prey attracts them. Where these two motives no longer exist, and the most brutal egotism appears, and these people who before had lived together in unity will turn into a swarm of rats that bitterly fight against each other, apparently. And he just goes on and on about the Jews. If the Jews were the only people in the world, they would be wallowing in filth and mire, and would exploit one another and try to exterminate one another in a bitter struggle. The irony of this statement being that Hitler would later go on to exploit and exterminate the Jews.
and like, I mean, I've seen Fiddler on the Roof. Those guys weren't all trying to kill each other and exploit each other, and like, they were just living in a town and just trying to get by. Like, I don't think they're that bad. Now they have their own country. They have Israel. And They don't seem to be wallowing in filth and mire and exploiting one another and exterminating one another in Israel. Although they do seem to be doing that to the Arabs. So maybe it's the fact that the Arabs are there that's stopping them. Because he does say if they were the only people in the world. So as long as they have an enemy, they can, exploit the enemy. But that's what Hitler did. That's what Hitler did to them. So it's totally hypocritical.
Jews themselves, as well as other races. Yeah, the whole book is filled with this prejudice. So in Hitler's mind, the Jews don't work towards the Aryan German state because they don't care about the national community. In his eyes, they are vermin, and he goes on to call them parasites. Therefore,
yeah, and there's a nuance here. Obviously, Hitler was extreme about his thoughts on this topic. For what reason, I don't know. Like, why the fuck did he care so much? But then you look at someone like Oswald Mosley, who was not an anti-Semite in the Hitlerian sense. But the thing about him is that he had an animosity with many Jews. Not all, but many. Because they didn't like him, because they judged him for being a fascist. And so it kind of created this sort of like, this is never going to work between us. But one of the things he wrote about in his 100 questions about fascism was the fascist movement has no issue with Jews. What it has an issue with is Jews who put the Jewish nation over the British nation. That Jews, if they want to be British, should embrace Britishness and embrace the nation and serve the nation as Brits, while also being Jewish. You can be Jewish at the same time. But what he saw was that Jews seemed to be more interested in promoting Jewish interests at the expense of British interests. Now, what that means precisely, I'm not entirely clear on. But I guess it's vague enough that you can interpret it uncharitably or charitably. I don't exactly know what the correct interpretation is there. But that's definitely along the lines of what Hitler is saying here, except that Hitler is going extremely far with it. Like Hitler took that basic idea and then made it like 100 times more racist, basically. More anti-Semitic, that's the word I was looking for.
For they're bad for the Aryan hive and must be eliminated. At the beginning of the First World War, or even during the war, if 12 or 15,000 of these Jews who were corrupting the nation had been forced to submit to poison gas, just as hundreds of thousands of our best German workers from every social stratum and from every trade and calling had to face it in the field, then millions of sacrifices made at the front would not have been in vain. On the contrary, if 12,000 of these malefactors had been eliminated in proper time, probably the lives of 1 million decent men who would be of value to Germany in the future might have been saved. Hitler is saying that if they'd killed a bunch of Jews in the First World War, they would have saved many good, honest German lives, somehow. So you can see the logic going into the Second World War. He also says that the Jews invented communism, which they didn't. But the important point is he thinks they did. And this is the point where he tries to
It was the Aryans who invented communism.
His socialism.
That's the irony.
Their socialism. And he does this by race. If you're part of the Aryan race, you can be a citizen of the socialist state that he's going to create. The People's State will classify its population in 3 groups: citizens, subjects of the state, and aliens. The rights of citizenship shall be conferred on every young man whose health and character have been certified as good after having completed his period of military service. On the occasion of conferring a diploma of citizenship, the new citizen must take a solemn oath of loyalty to the national community and the state. The bees get the benefit of having the honey and the protection of the state, but only if they're bees of this state. Foreign bees and other parasites are not allowed. The racial Weltanschauung is fundamentally distinguished from the Marxist by reason of the fact that the former recognises the significance of race and therefore also personal worth, and has made these the pillars of its structure. This is it. Hitler has spelt it out. What differentiates National Socialism from other Marxisms is race. It is socialism, but only for the Aryan. If the National Socialist movement should fail to understand the fundamental importance of this essential principle, if it should merely varnish the external appearance of the present state and adopt the majority principle, it would really do nothing more than compete with Marxism on its own ground. For that reason, it would not have the right to call itself a Weltanschauung. If the social program of the movement consisted of eliminating personality and putting the multitude in its place, then National Socialism would be corrupted with the poison of Marxism, just as our national bourgeois parties are. The difference between Marxism and Nazism is the race. Individual Aryan bees working towards the hive. Not all are equal in this type of bee socialism. There are individual bees who are better than others, but they do have an equal chance to climb the ladder. And individual bees do have rights and businesses, but the state can interfere in those rights and dictate what your businesses can and can't do for the benefit of the great Aryan bee. Yeah, this really is a socialist state, but access to this state is based on race.
Important to realize is that private property was preserved under this system. So I would say that this is a socialist idea, but it wouldn't be. It's not full socialism. It's not full democratization, like seizure of the means of production. That's not what it was. It was still very hierarchical. You know, he said at the beginning of the video that there's national welfare and then there's equality, and that Hitler was trying to push toward equality. But so far, I'm not really seeing that. To me, it just seems like welfare was the goal. It was like a very soft kind of welfare socialism rather than like full-on equality socialism, full-on seize the means of production socialism. So I don't know if I agree with this guy's premise so far, but let's see if he explains it more.
It's not class. The Marxist classless society ideal was redefined as a national community, but really these were the same thing. Hitler's broadest vision was that of the Volksgemeinschaft, the national community to be ruled by an elite blood.
But were they the same thing? Because the Volksgemeinschaft that he's talking about here had inequality and it had hierarchy. Whereas in the Marxist vision, you would have, well, particularly in the Marxist-Leninist vision, you would have a vanguard party that led a revolution and created a dictatorship of the proletariat. But then below them, it would all be equal. It was a community of producers. There wouldn't be any capitalists. But under Hitler's system, there were still capitalists. There were still capital owners who made profit off of other people's work. So I don't see these as being the same thing.
Order that to him would transcend the need for class barriers, which he saw as artificial and which stifled real creative talent. Mein Kampf goes on to say a lot more than this, but the point has been rammed
Okay.
home enough. Hitler's creation was a merger of two seductive ideologies into
He said they would
real creative talent.
transcend the need for class barriers, which he saw are artificial and stifled real creative talent. What exactly does that mean? Transcend the need for class barriers? Because it doesn't, like, I don't know a whole lot about Hitler, but I do know that he was not a full-on socialist. He did not believe in, like, breaking down the system of capital and laborer.
Talent. Mein Kampf goes on to say a lot more than this, but the point has been rammed home enough. Hitler's creation was a merger of two seductive ideologies, international socialism and nationalistic pride. Fusing both of these two together, Hitler didn't need to nationalize the industries. Why do we need all that socialization of the banks and factories? What does it matter once I have the people firmly fitted into a discipline form which they cannot escape?
Yeah, so he's admitting right here, he's talking to Strasser, who was an actual National Socialist, an actual communist who believed in the bigoted ideas of National Socialism. And he's straight up admitting here that he doesn't want socialism. He's saying, why do we need to nationalize the banks and factories? Now, there are other ways to achieve socialism than just nationalizing stuff. But when you're talking about the zeitgeist of the time and what socialism meant at the time, nationalism was nationalization, or socialization rather, was a huge part of it. And so he's saying we don't need the actual socialism in socialism to have socialism. Basically. It's kind of a Sorelian idea, I think. Because Sorel kind of abandoned the socialism part of socialism, but kept the kind of the mental, psychological aspect of the fighting syndicate. And that's basically what Hitler is saying here. If we can discipline people into thinking of themselves as worker bees, as in this guy's analogy, then we won't need actual socialism because they'll be able to work with each other as good socialists under what is de facto de facto a capitalist economy. What is essentially a capitalist economy, and the benefit of that, therefore, would that we would be preserving the strengths of capitalism, which is like competition and whatnot. Which, from what I understand, Hitler was a fan of. He was proud of.
We are socializing the people. So do not think that the German Nazi state in the 1930s and 40s is capitalism. It really isn't capitalism. It's a state-controlled economy. For the Nazis...
it's a state-controlled capitalist economy. That's... yeah. It's capitalism. Not all capitalism is free market liberalism. You know, there's different kinds of capitalism and different kinds of socialism. And I'm not even saying it's not socialism. I think you can actually have an economy that is simultaneously capitalist and socialist. China is a good example of that. I don't like these terms that are usually thought of as mutually exclusive opposites. When you really understand political philosophy, you see how you can't be that limiting in the way you categorize systems, because reality doesn't actually follow what's written on the page. Reality is a lot more complicated than that. So, in some senses, the German society and economy of the time was socialist. In other senses, it was capitalist. But I don't think that these are mutually exclusive terms, you know?
Socialism was state intervention in private business rather than state ownership of business. Employer and employee remained so long as they were part of the Aryan race. So, yes, these guys are communists, basically. Or at least they're more communist than
they
you
are
may
not.
have realised. You may not have made this connection before now either, and I don't blame you. National Socialists also don't like communists. So it's natural to think that these two ideologies are not similar. But they are. The reason Hitler hates the communists is because he says communism was created by the Jews, his mortal enemy. But placing the Jewish element aside for a moment, I would argue that the reason Hitler drones on and on about how much he hates communism and how much that his party and their parties are not the same is because he needs to differentiate his socialism from their socialism. Having read the primary source, I get the impression that the ramblings he goes on about for the vast majority of the book are only there to make sure everyone is clear that he isn't a Marxist socialist, because there isn't much of a difference between what he's saying and what they are saying.
There's a huge fucking difference. What are you talking about? Like, I don't want to hate this guy because he is making some good points, but like, I wish he didn't package these good points in a bunch of other points that suck, you know? It's not capitalism, it's socialism because describes capitalism. Exactly. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I like this guy, I'll be honest. I like this guy's presentation. He's straight to the point. In a lot of ways, he's doing a good job with this video, but it's just... I just wish he did a better job, because a lot of these points are just amateur fucking bullshit. Like, a guy who's not familiar with political philosophy, and I don't claim to be some, like, I haven't gone to school for this. I haven't read all 3 volumes of fucking Capital. You know, I'm not some expert at this, but like I've at least thought about it. You know, I feel like this guy just, I don't know what his aim is here. I don't know what angle he's trying to, if this guy's like a right winger who's trying to distance, because that's usually what it is. Usually these kinds of people are right wingers who are trying to distance conservatism from Hitlerism. And there's plenty of ways you can do that legitimately. You don't need to make stuff up.
So he's trying to come up with a difference. In fact, his hatred of the Jews and the ideal of the Aryan race is actually the main difference between the two ideologies. Now, when you look at the Second World War, what you have to realise is that you have two socialist states fighting against each other. However, this is just their economic policy. Hitler's National Socialists are definitely nationalists, which is a right-wing idea. So really you've got a party or a state which is both left-wing and right-wing at the same.
Okay, fair enough. Like, good on him for making this point, because this is the point that I just made. Yeah, good job at making this distinction that you can be left and right at the same time. That's actually something that not everybody gets. This guy has some libertarian vibes. He does kind of have libertarian vibes. I wouldn't be surprised if you were a libertarian or maybe a UKIP voter. I'm not sure. But yeah.
Time. How can this be? Well, this is why the traditional political spectrum doesn't make any sense, like in the World War II context. Why is Nazism...
It doesn't make sense in any context.
Doesn't make any sense either. And why is anarchism next to communism? Again, that doesn't make any sense. So let's get rid of it. Instead, let's look at each aspect as a separate spectrum. Economics and politics are basically not the same. I guess you could even have left and right within this as well. But all you need to know is that these two states are economically socialist and politically authoritarian.
I would put... Okay. I would not... Here's the thing. I would not put socialist in the center between communist and capitalist. I would actually rather put like, well, I guess welfare socialist I would put in the center. Like when I think socialist, I think straight up, we're abandoning capitalism. No more capitalism. And that's definitely not what Germany was doing at the time. That's not what Hitler was doing. So I would put socialist a little bit more to the left. But I'm not familiar with the ins and outs of German political economy at the time, so I can't say at what point I would put Germany on this axis, this economic spectrum. I can't imagine I would put them way far at the right, like a lot of lefties would put them, because I think, especially given all this stuff that he talked about from Mein Kampf, it doesn't seem like they were regular neoliberals, you know. But with communism, like he puts it right next to Hitler. I would probably put it a little bit more far left, because they pretty much nationalized everything under Marxism, Leninism. And so, yeah, that's pretty left. So I don't know if I agree with this, trying to shove them together as if they're right next to each other on the spectrum. No. But I would agree that they're both on the totalitarian dictatorship end. That does make sense. That's one area where they have a lot in common.
A strong national Reich, which recognises and protects to the largest possible measure the rights of its citizens, both within and outside its frontiers, can allow freedom to reign at home without trembling for the safety of the state. On the other hand, a strong national government can intervene to a considerable degree in the liberties of the individual subject as well as the liberties of the constituent states without thereby weakening the ideal of the Reich. Bees give up their freedom for the greater hive. Definitely authoritarian. To contrast this to the USA at the time of World War II, the USA would be right economically and probably mostly left on the political spectrum. Since she's not a democracy, she is a republic.
I would not put the USA that far right at the time. That was actually one of the times when they were a little bit more left-wing, because Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal had just been put into effect, and so they actually were engaging in more welfare at the time than they had been before. If we're talking about 1920s America, then yeah, I would put them pretty far right. But even then, the progressive movement had made a lot of inroads in America by then. And so I couldn't even put them totally at the end of the spectrum there either. Probably the Gilded Age of the late 1800s would be at exactly that part he puts them, but yeah, by the 1940s, they really weren't that far right. They were a little bit more to the left than that.
Republic for which she stands. Britain in the 1940s would probably be classed as mostly socialist economically, due to state intervention in the economy for the war effort and the post-war social welfare state. But
what about the New Deal? The U.S. had the same thing. It didn't have the NHS thing, but it had Social Security. It had, like, Keynesian public works initiatives. Like, it had strong union membership. Like, the U.S. and the U.K. were not that far off. What the hell is it? Like, does he really think... Oh, my God. Does he really think that the UK was between... Because, look, he has them equal distances between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Does he actually think that the UK was like right between, like right at the middle, the median point between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. This is a terrible infographic. It's so manipulative.
Also, where the USA is on the political spectrum due to the parliamentary system. And when you think of the Cold War, the same applies. Think of it in terms of democracy versus totalitarian governments, rather than capitalism versus socialism, since socialist governments also fall to the side of the USA. So yes, National Socialism is actually authoritarian socialism, which itself is not that much different to Stalinist socialism. In fact, is there much...
It's very different. Come on. It's extremely fucking different. And you, like, that quote from Hitler that you pulled. Let me bring up that quote again. Oh my god. This quote proves that they're entirely different from each other. Why do we need all that socialization of banks and factories? What does it matter once I have the people firmly fitted into a discipline from which they cannot escape? We are socializing the people. Hitler to Strasser, 1930. He was talking to someone, like, if you were making this video about Strasser and saying that Strasser's National Socialism wasn't that different from the Bolsheviks, then you would be totally right. But Hitler was clearly telling Strasser, I am not one of you. I am not like you. I am not a communist. And he explained it perfectly right here. Were you not paying attention to the quote that you pulled?
Itself is not that much different to Stalinist socialism. In fact, is there much of a difference between these two states? This is an ongoing historical debate. Just how similar are these two ideologies? And I'm not going to get into that debate here, but it's safe to say that in terms of their philosophies, their political influences, as well as their economic policies, government and other aspects, National Socialism and Stalinism are very similar indeed. And
I might be remembering wrong, but wasn't National Socialism an offshoot of Prussian socialism, which called for class collaboration instead of welfare? Oh, it very well might have been. I don't know that aspect of the history. But yeah, it very well might have been. I mean, Prussian socialism, I don't even really know what that is. I know about Bismarck and his like healthcare plan. Was he part of that whole phenomenon? Because I would consider that Bismarck, for his part, to be something of a socialist, even though he wasn't a Marxist in the slightest. But he socialized healthcare, he socialized medicine, which is a huge step at the time. But like it also draws so much from Italian fascism. Because Italian fascism was very similar, class collaboration. So, I mean, it might have been both sources that inspired Hitler and the other people in his movement.
And in terms of World War II, what we need to realise is that this was a war between two giant authoritarian power blocks. It is a war between different dictators. It is a war of ideologies. It is a racial war. It is a war of annihilation. But it's all...
The cork in my bottle broke off, and so I had to shove the rest of the cork down in there so I could get the rest of the liquid. I'm not an expert on it, but I remember reading that somewhere a while ago. It's probably true.
Also a war to see which version of socialism is the better version of socialism. And this is a central part of the war. So basically, to sum up, when you think of National Socialism, think racist communists, and you won't be far off.
No, that's Strasserism.
Patrons for your...
Does he not even know about the whole conflict between Hitler and Strasser? That's a huge part of NSDAP history. Does he not even know about the Night of the Long Knives? Like, This video is disappointing, man, because I really think that this guy is cool and he could like do good work. And I like aspects of this video, but man, it just sucks because at the end of it, I'm just left thinking, just bad thesis, not good. And I don't want to. I want to like this guy. I want to be on his side. Here's a preview of the next stuff I have on the playlist. So he has a please read comment. So I'm going to hear him out and hear what he has to say here. I love how he says racist communists as if communists of the time weren't also racist, LMAO. See, that's something you could tell me about because I don't know much about that. I mean, I know that Stalin had some anti-Semitic points. He wasn't entirely a good guy in that realm, but yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the racism in communism. But let's read what he has to say. I've replaced my original pinned comments in both videos because people either ignored them completely. Pinned comments is where I list my sources, not the description, as many of you claimed. Oh my god, there's a new video about Mosley someone made. The decline of Britain's failed Hitler. Oh god. Oh my god, and look at this dude. He just looks like a douchebag. Okay. I really hate it when people call Mosley the British Hitler. I fucking despise that because he was not Hitler. He just so was not Hitler. It's so dishonest to paint him that way. Now, you can say that he... you can say that he was closer to Hitler than other politicians of his time, sure, and his place. But honestly, who is more racist, Mosley or Churchill? I'm going to go with fucking Churchill. If you've actually read the stuff that Churchill wrote about people of other races and about Jews in particular, you'd be disgusted. Mosley never wrote anything like that, to my knowledge. Now, he had some pamphlets that did promote some kind of... what would I call it? Like dog whistle-y racist stuff. I will admit, like, the dude was no saint when it came to racism and anti-Semitism. He kind of got dirty at times. But he was always very consistently trying to save face in that regard, at least, in a way that Churchill was just openly like, nah, I hate Jews. No, I hate black people. Like, just read the stuff that he wrote. It's insane. Oh, I don't know. Mosley was absolutely less racist. Yeah, Mosley was less racist than Churchill. I will make that claim. Because I have heard the stuff that Churchill said. Like, it would blow your mind how racist Churchill was. And Mosley, because he had to spend so much time saving face for being part of the fascist movement, he ended up saying a lot of anti-racist stuff in his career. Now, he ended up partnering with a lot of racists, and that was bad, and he should have known better. It was terrible for PR, and it was terrible for his movement. And he justified it in all kinds of ways. And then he claimed that he kicked out all these anti-Semites from the party, but anyone who was in the party could tell you that it was fucking rife with anti-Semites, and the Black Shirt Legions were rife with those people. So, like, definitely we shouldn't let him off the hook. Mosley deserves a whole ration of criticism for the way he handled his party. He fucked up royally, but I don't think the guy was personally racist or anti-Semitic the way he's portrayed. And stuff like this, the decline of Britain's failed Hitler, it just irritates me when I see that. Because it's just such a misrepresentation of what he was about. Do you have some of the Churchill racism? There's a podcast. It's a great podcast called Ray and Cam's Cold War Podcast. And one of the first episodes they did was about Winston Churchill. And they went over all of his racism. I would like to pull up some quotes. I don't know if I can find them easily. I probably can. Let me just look it up and see if I can find Hitler. Probably people have... I assume there's a lot of people who have cataloged this stuff. Winston Churchill, racist comments. I'm seeing a lot of articles, but I want like quotes. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to find it with Googling, but I can pull up that podcast episode in a minute. And I don't know, because there's going to be a lot of other material in that episode that won't be totally relevant. So I don't know if I want to listen to that whole episode, because it is long. Maybe I can come back on my next stream and go over some of Churchill's comments. I think that's a good idea, because I would like to go over Churchill's racism, because that's something that doesn't get talked about very much. But even people at the time were like, "Dude, chill out! Stop being so racist." Yeah, we will go over that next time. So he says, first of all, the National Socialist economy and society in Germany was absolutely not capitalist, no matter how much people scream at me that it is. After crushing imports and exports in 1933 to 1934 in order to promote autarky and rearmament, party officials were basically in every shop and business, providing them with goods or foreign currency and dictating policy, etc. On top of this, autarky crushed imports and exports, causing the end of trade, helping to isolate Germany from the globalized economy. All of this caused a massive economic crisis in 1934, but to quote Too's wages of destruction, in practice the Reichsbank and the Reich Ministry of Economic Affairs had no intention of allowing the radical activists of the SA, the shop floor militants of the Nazi Party, or Gauleiter commissioners to dictate the course of events. Under the slogan of the strong state, the ministerial bureaucracy fashioned a new national structure of economic regulation. It would be absurd to deny the reality of this shift. The crisis of corporate capitalism in the course of the Great Depression did permanently alter the balance of power. Never again was big business to influence the course of government in Germany as directly as it did between the outbreak of World War I in 1914 and the onset of the Depression in 1929. The Reich's economic administration, for its part, accumulated unprecedented powers of national economic control. And this was 1934, so it was obviously not capitalism. And if it's heavy state intervention with a planned centralized economy without being capitalism, what could it be? But we still have private property, so it is capitalism. Like, you're just wrong. Like, it is... if there's private property, if there's private capital, then it is capitalism. That's what capitalism is, okay? Jesus Christ. A commenter critical of what I was saying, Adrian Mann, said that my definition of socialism was wrong and that it's about power relationships and shifting these to the workers. Okay, I absolutely agree with what he's saying here. From an ideological perspective of what was defined by Marx, that's a fair assessment. And I don't disagree. I've never done. But there's an issue with this definition historically, and people have given other definitions, revolutionary versus non-revolutionary, seizing the means of production, etc. In fact, socialism doesn't have one definition because, as Evans... Well then, if socialism doesn't have one definition, then why are you being so restrictive about your definition of capitalism? Oh, it has to be businesses controlling their own interests without intervention of the government. Why? Why does it have to be that? It doesn't. If there is private capital, then that is capitalism. As Evans wrote, when an intellectual historian reads Hobbes' Leviathan or Marx's Das Kapital, it is not in order to use their writings to reconstruct something outside them, but in order to construct an interpretation of what they mean or meant. There are indeed many interpretations of these thinkers' ideas, not least because the systems of thought Hobbes and Marx established were so wide-ranging that they never became completely closed. So let's not pretend that socialism is a fixed definition. I'm not pretending it is. Now, some of you also have this concern. We are seeing a rise of fascism. To revise the meaning of socialism plays to a particular audience that I'm hoping you don't want, Adrian Mann. Okay, yeah, that's a bullshit criticism. We can probably skip his response to that. So you can see why he hated Bolshevism so much. He thought that international communism would allow the Jews to destroy the Aryan races. He therefore decided to take action and beat the Jews before they beat the Aryans. That's why he wanted to go east. Yeah, but you're forgetting the other part, which is that he hated their economic policy, which is why he killed Gregor Strasser. Like, did you forget that part? Oh my God. Like, Hitler wasn't some, like, fan of Soviet economics. He disagreed with communism. He disagreed with Marxism-Leninism straight up. Okay, this one's more interesting. Hitler thought that socialism was about power relationships too. The difference was that he thought the way to solve the issue wasn't by having the workers rise up, but actually by removing the Jews. I know this isn't socialism as Marx defined it, but stick with me for a bit longer. If you remove the Jews, then the power relationships wouldn't happen. The Aryan race would all work together as a collective to better the German nation. The elites would help their fellow men, and the workers could rise to the top. Hitler does say that the latter still exists, because individuals should be able to climb up if they're better than others. That would actually help the race, because supposedly the better elements of the race would rise upwards. And you do have quite a bit of social movement in the National Socialist era of Germany, so it's not completely correct to say he was just saying this stuff. So what you're saying is that Hitler believed in capitalism, but he also thought of it as socialism because he thought that the Jews were what created the problems inherent in capitalism. And if you get rid of the Jews, then capitalism becomes socialism because the Aryan race is just a naturally socialistic race. Yeah, you're not exactly convincing me with that line. I mean, yeah, there's a logic to it, but that logic does not lead to Hitler is basically Stalin. It doesn't lead there. Sorry. Yeah. All right. Well, I heard him out, and it was still bullshit. Holy wall of text, Batman. Has this guy listened to any of Hitler's speeches, LMFAO? I haven't listened to many of Hitler's speeches, but even I know this is bullshit. Like, I feel like if he didn't ignore the Strasser question, he would have figured this out. He would have figured out the nuance here. But he's just really trying hard to propagandize us into this. He just railroad us into this perspective that just lacks all nuance. And then he's trying to add all this nuance where it matters to him, but then he's not extending the same thing the other direction. It's just so dishonest. I'm just reading some of the other comments. Nazis were communists. 15 minutes later, Nazis did not seize ownership of private property, but instead allowed employer-employee relationships to remain so long as they were of the same race. Don't think you know what socialism or communism is, mate. Socialism doesn't just mean when a state does things. Yeah, pretty much. Let's see what he had to say to that. Private property plus markets plus state intervention in the economy equals socialism. It also equals capitalism, my friend. It also equals capitalism. Oh my fucking God. What an idiot. This guy sucks. I changed my mind, man. Because here's the thing, like, I don't like this guy anymore. I initially liked him. But the fact that he's not taking the criticism well makes me not like him. Like, if he just made mistakes, then fine, whatever. But he's just buckling down. He's like refusing to agree to anything that just makes perfect sense. Like, any criticism that's just airtight, he's like, no. Yeah, I don't know. What a disappointment. It's called selective reading, like how Christians do with the Bible. Yeah. It's so selective. All right. Well, I think I'm going to clip this video for another upload because I think I got some good material out of this one. This one was a pretty good one. But, yeah, like I said, I'm no expert, but I feel like even not being an expert, I'm able to see the really huge major flaws in this guy's reasoning. But let's move on from that. Let's move to this video. Now, have you guys seen this video? Do you guys know who this guy is? We are not talking about Pogo, the member of Marilyn Manson. That's a different Pogo. There is another Pogo who is named DJ Pogo, who does these remixes of Disney movies into like electronic songs. And he's very popular. You've never heard of him, Claudia. Okay. Neither has Steven. Okay. So he's very popular. But a long time ago, like probably 8 years ago, he made this video. And I'm going to play it for you in a second, but first I want to point out the fact that you can see he has a red gas can in the corner of the frame next to that little drawer. There's a red gas can, a gasoline canister. Which, the thing about trolls is that sometimes trolls will put little details in their videos to let you know that something's off, to let you know that they're trolling, to let you know that they're not actually being serious about what they're saying. And that is a little detail. Like, who just has a red gas canister in their office or bedroom, wherever this is? It kind of indicates that something's amiss. So I'm going to play the video all the way through. I'm not going to comment on it. It's only 2 minutes and 42 seconds. And then we're going to talk about it, okay?
Hey there, folks. I thought I'd jump on really quickly and just answer a question that I get all the time. Why did you call your YouTube channel Faggotron, as in faggot and then tron? Well, I've never actually told anybody this story. I've always tried to avoid telling people the truth and just kind of give them something a bit more PC. But no, I'm going to be totally straight up and down with you guys this time, because, you know, you come on my channel, you deserve my honesty. I came up with Faggotron because I've always had a very thorough dislike of homosexuals. I've never liked a grown man acting like a 12-year-old girl. I've always found that to be quite disgusting. And so I thought to myself, how best can I express to the world that gays are just an abomination? Or I guess to be a bit more PC about it, how can I express to the world that I view gays as an abomination? So I thought, well, here in Australia, we will like to call, well, I think in America as well, you guys like to call gays fags or faggots. I think nothing encapsulates really the sissiness of a gay guy quite like the word faggot, you know? So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to call myself Faggotron, and hopefully people get it. Hopefully, well, I wanted to be subtle with the whole thing, you know, because it turns out that Fargo in German is actually bassoon. So what you've got there is actually bassoonatron on my YouTube channel, but it doesn't really make much sense because I don't play the bassoon. But what I do is I have a fairly robust resentment of the gay community. I don't want to really get into this, but when there was the Orlando shooting and the guy was shouting Allahu Akbar or something, I was like, but yeah, I've got to be a bit careful with that because, well, you know, I don't like gays, but I don't want to see people getting killed in nightclubs either. But still, I mean, you know, it's just fantastic. It amazes me to see the West actually welcoming in a culture through the floodgates that once gay is dead. I think that's fantastic. So there you go, guys. A quick story behind my username, Faggotron.
Okay. I don't know about you, but to me, I think anyone who watches that video and thinks that he's being serious is either a fucking retard or just has very little experience with the internet. This is so clearly a put on. I mean, one of the things that's very, intentionally hilarious about this is that he says, I named myself Faggotron to signal how much I dislike homosexuals. You wouldn't do that. Nobody would call themselves a faggot in order to talk about how much they hate homosexuals. But he knows that that's absurd. on the face of it. And so he knows that if anyone with a brain watches this, he's just going to laugh. He's just going to find it funny. He's just going to be like, okay, this guy's clearly not being serious. Well, here's the punchline I've been building up to.
Over a homophobic rant that's highlighted a major legal loophole. The DJ posted the anti-gay tirade online, but unlike in other states, he can't be charged under anti-vilification laws.
I've always had a very thorough dislike of homosexuals.
Perth-based Nick Birdkey is a YouTube star. Also known as DJ Pogo, now he's broadcasting his hatred of the gay community to more than 700,000 subscribers.
Gays are just an abomination.
Even praising the Orlando nightclub shooting, which left 49 people dead.
It amazes me to see the West actually welcoming in a culture through the floodgates that once gays dead.
But in WA, a legal loophole means the 29-year-old is unlikely to face criminal charges. New South Wales, Queensland, the ACT and Tasmania have anti-vilification laws, but they don't exist in WA.
And that covers hate speech and things.
I like how they call it a legal loophole. It's freedom of speech, my friend. We have it in the United States. It's called the First Amendment. You should get it in Australia, you freaking barbarians. Jesus Christ.
Of that nature, and that would make it far more likely to achieve a conviction.
Not
if they were
having
charged in
a
those
law
states.
is not a
What have
loophole.
I done? My goodness.
That's not what a
Today
loophole
in a
is,
statement,
morons.
Nick Birdkey said he has no hate for the gay community. The video was a satirical piece made in very bad taste. He had
So they even show that he admits that it was satire. He admits I didn't even watch this video. I didn't know he even made this statement. But I knew just from watching that that troll video he made. I knew just from the content of the video that it was fake because he was clearly signaling that it was fake. It was clearly meant to be a joke. Yeah, send it over, Claudia, on Discord. It was clearly meant to be a joke. But it's so dishonest how now 9 News Perth in Australia, or not now, back then, they were like, oh yeah, this video that's clearly fake, anyone with a brain can tell that it's just him having a laugh. And the dude admits that he was having a laugh. Oh, we should be prosecuting this guy for hate speech. Oh, and it's due to a legal loophole that he's not being... It's not a loophole when you just don't have the fucking law. The law exists in New South Wales and Victoria. It doesn't exist in Western Australia, where this guy lives. You can't call that a loophole. That's not a loophole. A loophole is when there's like a weird exception that you can figure out to like, oh, if I do this thing, I can like get around the law that exists. The law doesn't exist where he lives. It's not a loophole. It's just so stupid. And there's like no valuation of free speech here. Like, even if this guy was legitimate, even if this guy was saying he actually believes this, I still wouldn't want him to go to jail for that. Because, like, what kind of precedent? Well, not go to jail. Get fined, probably. It's a criminal charge, but it's not like a jail criminal charge, probably. It's a fine criminal charge. But even so, I wouldn't want him to get fined for this. Because, like, he's just speaking his mind, man. We all have the right to our opinion. Now, it's unfortunate that some people actually do think the way this fictional version of him thinks. But come on, Fagatron, you think that was serious? You really think Fagatron was serious, guys? Guys. Damn, the First Amendment of the Constitution is such a big loophole. Yeah, I know. Guys, we realize that in America there exists this legal loophole where you can say what you want and not get fined for it. we need to somehow figure out a way to close that loophole. It's called the First Amendment of the Constitution. What an idiot. God, whoever wrote this news story was freaking... And the funny thing is, like, I could call him an idiot, but, like, honestly, just being a malicious, hypocritical prick is probably more likely. Given the kind of people they have writing these news stories. Yeah.
Has Asperger's and bipolar, so his sense of humour and empathy is muddled. And he's very sorry to the people he may have offended.
It's just disgusting. And there's no way you can brush this off as a joke. If you say those words and they come out your mouth, that's just unforgivable.
The YouTube star still hasn't removed the video. Rebecca Johns, 9 News.
And just moments ago, YouTube removed the video for violating its hate speech policy.
Yeah, okay. Unless you're Julian Assange, it's a loophole. I have one more video on the playlist. And because we were talking about Fagatron, I found this movie. It's called Captain Fagatron Saves the Universe. And guys, I have to show you this trailer. Asperger's, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Nurse! Doctor! I feel fabulous!
By the way, John Waters is going to be in an upcoming episode of Hell of a Boss, and I'm so excited. Dude, like, it's awesome that they got a legend like John Waters to be on that show. And it's like exactly the kind of show that he should be on. It's just like a crass, foul-mouthed, gay as fuck show. Like, I bet that John Waters is now a fan of that show. Because he's the kind of guy who would be. I'd love to hear him talk about it.
It's Captain Fagatron. It's Captain Fagatron. It's Captain Fagatron.
Captain, something terrible happened. I got tangled up some years ago with a being named Queen Bitch. A creature from Oberon. I stole her ring and she's been after me since. This ring is special. In 3 days, Venus, Uranus and Neptune will all align on the sky. If she masturbates and comes on the ring on the exact moment of their alignment, the anus of hell will open and the demons of the underworld will be released and sodomize all virgins on earth, turning everyone into homosexuals. Yeah.
What if we can be normal? Why be normal when we can be extraordinarily fabulous? It is my duty to activate the ring and my joy to live.
Some Brandon Rogers shit. It kind of is, yeah.
I'm a sexual planet.
Let the planet turn gay, who cares?
Soon in your local cinema, provided we get more money for the post-production, which is expensive, especially because we need some good special effects and music. I mean, can you imagine Captain Fagatron swinging his sweet booty to some crappy Creative Commons tunes? The diva needs a full orchestra to give you the goods, so get ready to open that wallet wider than a power bottom's butthole for these queens and make it rain, baby. But seriously, we really do need some more money in order to finish our film, which we know you want to see. I love that. That's great. I want to watch this movie on stream. I don't know if I can get away with it because it is copyrighted, I assume. But it's out. They finished the movie. And you know what? I'll probably just try it anyway. Even if I can't get away with it, I'll just try. Because, you know, it can't hurt me. It's not like I'm going to get a strike. At most, I'll get blocked. So, can't hurt me to try. Not sure what I stumbled upon, but hello. I guess this stream isn't about Bimmy. No, it's not about Bimmy. Sorry, baby. Unless you have some Bimmy content for me to review. Let me see what Claudia sent over to me on Discord. Thank you, by the way, Claudia, for just being a good friend and a good pal and a good viewer, like active participation in my channel. Because, you know, I don't have very many of those. I have Carl. His real name is Cody, I guess. And I'm a good friend of his. And I have you. And it's just nice to have, you know, people who always show up for me and are always there and interested in what I have to make and say. And it's just cool. Make a Discord server and stream it there. Easy copyright loophole. Yeah, but that's not going to reach very many people. YouTube, you're welcome. Yeah. YouTube doesn't. YouTube has a lot more reach for me, and I want to be able to reach all of my audience who wants to see it. But yeah, I'd love to stream that movie, Captain Fagatron Saves the Universe, because that looks like a lot of fun. I did To Boldly Flee, and that was a total disaster. That was a pain. That was not worth it. It was not worth it at all. This one looks like it might be a little bit better. How'd that recording turn out that we did? Oh, God. No. I'm sorry to say that I was right. I just totally forgot to turn on the microphone on Discord. Not Discord, on OBS. Totally forgot on OBS to turn on the microphone. It was such a good stream. It was such a good conversation, too. And it was like half an hour. It was tight. It was nice. Like I could have... I'm glad we had it. I'm glad we talked. But unfortunately, man. But you know what? Next time we might be able to actually get Shane in the room and we could hash it out again. And then it would be even better because Shane will be there. And I've seen him on your videos. I know he's pretty interesting. So it would be fun to talk to him. Ray C says, I try to catch you, but it's like 3 a.m. here when you start streaming usually. Well, thank you for showing up anyway, man. Because I see you here all the time. So, yeah. Because you're in Bulgaria, right? Yeah. I remember that. Oh, well, you have the information. Yeah, I have the information now. That's good to know. I still don't know that I'm as like antagonistic toward the Satanic Temple as you are. Obviously there's issues with them. They're kind of gay. They're kind of greedy. But I do like some of the trolling they do. I mean, they're great trolls, aren't they? Like, I think that kind of justifies their existence, in my opinion. I'm not you guys are really like anti-Satanic Temple. I'm kind of sitting here like, okay, they're not great, but they are kind of they're kind of funny. Oh God, To Boldly Flee, that movie's longer than Killers of the Flower Moon. I would like to see that because I'm a big Marty fan. I'm a big Scorsese fan. Like Taxi Driver, man, that movie is it just means so much to me on a personal level. I don't know. Have you guys seen Taxi Driver? That movie is just brilliant. And that movie has Albert Brooks. And I watched a documentary about Albert Brooks last week on my birthday with my mother and brother. And that Albert Brooks is a really interesting person. His actual name was Albert Einstein, and he changed his name to Brooks for show business reasons. Really interesting dude. Oh yeah, I can totally get Shane on. He was asleep while we were chatting at that time. Okay. Yeah, whenever honestly, like we can set up another chat and have Shane. Unfortunately, I'm gonna be going on a road trip. A really long road trip as far as I can tell. In like a week or something like that. Like it's not gonna be that long before I go. And so I'm not going to be able to have my whole setup here. I'll probably be able to have Wi-Fi, whatever Wi-Fi I can get on the road at wherever I can get it. But yeah, like any kind of stream we want to do, or Discord call, it'd probably be good to get it out of the way soon. But we can always wait on that, or I don't know. I might be able to figure something out on the road. I'm from Latvia originally. Racy is from Latvia originally. UK. Racy, you're from UK? Okay, I think maybe Cosmic Cynic was the one from Bulgaria. Somebody was from Bulgaria. It might not have been you. But that explains, Racy, why a lot of your comments, Racy, I've noticed you're not great at the English. And learning another language is hard. But I've noticed that it's often hard for me to understand what you're saying. After a trip, I don't know when my trip will be over. I really don't know. I know I'm coming back to Reno by September 1st for the Marilyn Manson concert in Reno. And you know what's great is that Five Finger Death Punch will not be there. That was one thing I was worried about. I was like, God, am I going to have to leave halfway through for Five Finger Death Punch? Nope, they're not going to be there in Reno. It's just going to be Manson. It's just going to be me and Manson. Okay. Let me see what you sent me. Clerks. Okay, I haven't seen this movie.
You were saying? Thanks for putting me in such a tough spot. You're a good friend.
If you stop in Arizona, let me know. Well, you know what? I wasn't planning on going to Arizona, but I might if you're there and you want to meet up with me, because it would be fun to just hang out with you. Because you're someone who has a lot in common with me, We could have a good time together. But ever since you did the NC review, I just like the opinions and the approach you take. I do believe that you're growing in popularity in your niche and people like to engage with you. Well, that was very eloquent. I don't know. Are you the guy who's not good at English? Because that was pretty understandable. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Maybe you are good at English. I don't know. That was pretty intelligible. Yeah, I might want to go to Arizona now. That'd be cool. You're also seeing Manson in September? That's cool. Is he coming to Arizona in September as well? In Reno, he's going to be here on the 1st. So I'm assuming he's going that way, going down south. Yeah, the NC review. So, wait a minute. NC. That's Nostalgia Critic, right? NC. That's what I know as NC is Nostalgia Critic. I made my Doug Walker video. That was one of the first videos I ever made. That was the 4th video I ever made, and I think right now currently it's the 3rd video on my channel because I deleted the Penda's Fen video. So if you were here way back in the day from the Doug Walker video, you've been here a long time because not many people were around back then. The channel Benjamin Crane 2563 has some kids watching AVGN for over 24 hours sleepovers and kind of reminded me of you for some reason. Not really a good watch on stream though. Yeah, I bet not, but interesting. He'll be in Phoenix. It's interesting. My grandma actually lives in Phoenix for the winter, and she goes back to Washington for the summer. So I'm visiting her in Washington. I'm gonna go to Washington in early June, and I'm gonna see her and my dad. And then if I can make it out of Washington, I'll come back home and drop my friend off because he's coming with me to Washington. But after I drop him off, I mean, the world is my oyster. I can do whatever I want. So I could go down to Arizona, where you are, and that could be fun. And then I'll go meet my friend Cody way over in the east because he's over in... right now he's in West Virginia doing a pretty... hardcore job that he's got with the Forest Service that's really kind of overworking him, but he might move somewhere else as well. He was talking about moving to Oregon, which would be pretty convenient for me because then I wouldn't have to go all the way over to the east, but I would like to see him. I think that's the end of my brandy. I live about an hour and 20 minutes away from Phoenix. All right. Well, yeah, that'd be cool. But let's watch this Kevin Smith thing.
She was pretty young, huh?
22, just like us.
Embolism in a pool.
What an embarrassing way to die.
That's nothing compared to how my cousin Walter died.
How did he die?
He broke his neck.
That's embarrassing?
He broke his neck trying to suck his own dick.
Shut the hell up.
I swear.
Stop it.
Bible truth.
Oh my God.
Come on. Haven't you ever tried to suck your own dick?
No.
Yeah, right.
This movie, by the way, was done in black and white because Kevin Smith realized that if he had shot it in color, it would look like shit because he didn't have the proper equipment to shoot a color movie. And even in black and white, it looks like shit. This movie looks terrible. But from what I hear, people love this movie. So it's not the graphics that matter. It's the story and the characters and the dialogue that matters. That's what makes it a good movie. So I haven't seen it. I've never seen this movie. I've only seen one Kevin Smith movie, and that was Zack and Miri Make a Porno with Seth Rogen. And that was okay. But yeah, really cool example of indie filmmaking.
You're so repressed.
Because I never tried to suck my own dick?
No, because you won't admit to it. As if a guy's a fucking pervert because he tries to get down on himself. You're as curious as the rest of us, pal. You've tried it.
Racy says, I grew up with English cartoons and video games, so my lingo is sloppy 90s. And yes, the Doug video. You arrived on my suggestions before I saw it. I was looking for Change the Channel deep dives. How long ago was that? Was that around the time I made it? Because I made it back in late 2021. And that was one of my first videos. That was a big one for me. And that was like one of my favorite early videos that I did.
Who found him?
My cousin? Mom found him. It was a mess. He was on his bed with his legs doubled over himself. Mom freaked out.
Made it, huh? Dick in his mouth.
Yeah. Balls resting on his lips.
Wow, really made it.
Yeah, but at what a price.
I could never reach.
Reach what?
You know.
What, your dick?
Yeah, like you said, I guess everybody gets curious and tries it sometime.
Okay. I have tried to suck my own dick in the past. I don't think I've tried it ever since I was a teenager. I've tried to suck my own dick. It's really, really, really hard. I mean, I envy contortionists with their ability to stretch their bodies. They're really amazing people, but like I have a very, very pronounced, very large foreskin. I'm uncircumcised, thankfully. My parents weren't fucking morons. But I can only the only thing I can do is extend my tongue as far as it can possibly go, and extend my foreskin as far as it can possibly go, and then I can kind of touch it. I can kind of touch the two tips. That's how bad I am at sucking my own dick. I'm really I'm really not good at that at all. I'm not very flexible. My spine is very rigid. That's as good as I've been ever able to do. I've probably tried like twice in my life, and that's always as far as I've been able to get.
I never tried it. Fucking pervert.
Wow. Oh, okay, that's my stream. That's weird that my stream is recommended for me, and I'm on my channel. I'm on the Forever Dirt channel, but it's still recommending me my stream. I was gonna be at first. I thought it was recommending me this clip from this movie, Darby O'Gill and the Little People. She is my dear, my darling one, my smiling and beguiling one, with Sean Connery. The thing is, this is actually the movie where I discovered Sean Connery. My brother found out about this movie, Darby O'Gill and the Little People, and he told me about the various people who were in it, and Sean Connery was the one name I remembered, who played this character. She is my dear, my darling one, my smiling and beguiling one. And then I remember I was still a kid at the time. I was watching Nostalgia Critic, and he brought up this movie in his top 11 scariest nostalgic moments, and he was like, you get to hear Sean Connery sing, ah! And then he played that clip. But the thing about it was that's the only thing I knew Sean Connery from. So I was like, okay, is Sean Connery like a famous actor or something? I don't get it. Like, that's what I know him from. I know him from this movie. Is he famous from something else? Turns out he was the original James Bond. I had no idea about that. And I also didn't know that he was the star of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is a movie I had seen prior to that point. And he was also in the third Indiana Jones movie as Indiana Jones' dad, which is also a movie I had seen prior to that point. So I had seen Sean Connery in multiple things that I didn't realize I was seeing him in. But yeah, it's funny that I first heard of Sean Connery from this movie, Darby O'Gill and the Little People, back in the 1950s. Ray C says, probably 2022, but I only lately did I realize you did live streams. I guess why tubers always say hit that bell when you subscribe. Honestly, I haven't been I haven't done a lot of live streams until recently. Let me look at my channel. including this one, I've only done 9 live streams. My first one was for 1,000 subscribers. And that was like a year ago. A little less than a year ago. Then I did one 10 months ago. And then I did a 2,000 subscriber one 4 months ago. So it's only been very recently that I've done all these streams. By the way, have you guys ever wondered about these 2 thumbnails? Because there's a funny story about these 2 thumbnails. Do you want me to tell you this story? Like, have you ever wondered why I have these thumbnails of me photoshopped as Hideki Tojo? It's because there's this guy who just hates me for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what he saw that made him hate me. But he's this ugly old man. He's old. He's like a pathetic old man who just, for some reason, hates me. And he sent me these emails, because I have my email on this channel, foreverdirt1@gmail.com. Hey, 1968, glad to see you here. You're another guy who's been here. You and Ray C and Claudia Burdella. You've been here, and Carl too, of course. Of course, Carl too. He's basically my boyfriend, although we would not be so explicit about that sort of thing. Anyway, you see that guy in every comment section? Yeah. Well, not anymore. I think he's gotten bored of me. I think he's bored. I don't think he's commenting on my videos anymore. But for a while, he was commenting on every video, and not just him, but with his sock accounts. He had like 2 sock accounts that he would use, and it was all him. And he would comment on my teeth. Now, I think I have very cute teeth. I love my little cute lateral incisors that are very pointy, like little. They're pointier than my canines, because my canines are baby teeth. These top 2 canines are still baby teeth. I still have 2 baby teeth. Can you believe that? I have grown-up teeth up here ready to come out, but my baby teeth are stopping them. But my lateral incisors. Let me. Oh shoot! I lost my earbud. Oh. I gotta size up this so that you can really see my I have pointy little fangs. They're so cute, aren't they? And I love them. But this guy for some reason hates my teeth, and I'm like, friend, what did my teeth ever do to you? But he thinks they look Japanese, which is kind of racist, because I don't think Japanese people have bad teeth, even though that's a stereotype that goes back to the World War II days. I don't think Japanese people have bad teeth, but that's a stereotype. But he's like, yeah, you have Jap teeth. So he photoshopped me as Hideki Tojo in these old World War II era PSA posters. They're not even war posters. They're just, because they're World War II era, they happen to have Hideki Tojo in them. This one right here, I don't know if you can. No, you can't see me. You can't see my mouse. Can you see my mouse, guys? Right here. Now that I have the window open, I don't know. But the spontaneous stream you can see down there 2 months ago. That's actually an old Forest Service poster. And then the one next to it, the Culture War stream here, that's an old, like, don't crash your car, don't be an idiot on the road poster. It says, Jappy's so happy when this happens to you. when you crash your car, and it has Hideki Tojo smiling, and he photoshopped me as Hideki Tojo. But then the funny thing is that he, when he found out I was using his art, that he emailed me. He was like, "You got to see this. I photoshopped you." And I was like, "This is great." So I'm going to use it as thumbnails. And when he found out about it, he actually sent me, he posted a comment on this Culture War stream. And he said, "You got to stop using my art." I'll actually show it to you. I'll show it to you. Hold on. Huh. Okay, for some reason my response to him is not shown. It must have been like removed automatically by YouTube, or maybe it was just not, it didn't go through. But I did respond to him. His name is Saint Lunacy down here. And he's like, "You gotta credit me for that thumbnail, you thief. Where's my compensation? My fucking money." He always says fuggin' instead of fucking. But you can see he's this old bald nitwit. And I'm just like, what? I responded to him. Apparently it didn't go through, or got deleted by YouTube or something. I don't know. But I responded to him and I was like, "Bro, you used my likeness in your art, so you should be paying me. Give me some money." And then what's funny is after I sent that comment, he sent me a cease and desist on my email, where he showed this ugly picture of himself looking like a total fool. And he was like, you better stop using my art or there'll be consequences." But, you know, I block all of his emails that he sends me, so I don't know if he's still trying to send me art or not, but yeah. He's pretty funny. Ray C says, "The first Bond movie was my first intro into Sean Connery in my childhood. After that car chase with the stock footage in the background, corny. I could never take 007 seriously." I hate Bond movies. I'm going to be honest with you. I fucking hate James Bond. And I'm not saying they're terrible movies. I don't think they are. Like, I watched Casino Royale with my mother because she actually kind of likes the Daniel Craig ones. I watched Casino Royale and I thought it was okay. I'd give it like maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. Not a terrible movie, but just not my thing. But then I watched Quantum of Solace, and God, that movie was horrible. That was just a horrible, horrible, horrible movie. It was just so boring. I couldn't keep track of anything that was going on. Ugh. So yeah, I just never have been interested in the James Bond idea. It's just so boring to me. I heard about Yeba being a thing earlier today, where having pointy, malformed teeth is seen as attractive. I don't know what that is. Hold on, let me look that up. Yeba? I gotta look that up. Because I think my teeth are adorable. I mean, maybe I'm not overly fond of the fact that when I do this, I've got like real buck teeth going on. I got real like prominent front tooth thing going on. Maybe I'm not overly fond of that, but other than that, I love my teeth. Yeba. A Japanese term that refers to teeth that look like fangs, especially upper canines that overlap or protrude from the gums. The word translates to double tooth. In Japan, yaiba, I'm assuming yaiba, is considered a sign of natural beauty and youthfulness. Well, there you go, man. I'm cute. I really am a cutie, and I got cute teeth. I would be so attractive in Japan. I don't know what that guy's talking about. I think my teeth are adorable. Racy says, by the way, imagine the effort of your disloyal fan to Photoshop you XD. That's like Red Cow Media on AVGN levels of focusing. I mean, a more accurate comparison is the subreddit Cinemassacre Truth, because Red Cow kind of distance themselves a little bit from that, but Cinemassacre Truth is like, no, we're focusing on this. We're paying attention to this. But yeah. Red Cow, it's funny, people were telling me that I should go on Red Cow. Red Cow never reached out to me. Probably either they haven't seen my video, or they saw it and then they watched other videos that I made and were like, no thanks. But they have reached out to other people like Dylan the Night Owl and what's that other guy? The music guy who reviewed Rex Viper. They reached out to those guys and were like, yeah, come on our show. But they haven't reached out to me. And I have 80,000 views on that video. I mean, that's a big video. That's no sloucher. That's my biggest video on my channel. People love that one. And they must have been like, nah, no thank you on this guy. We're good on this guy. The artsy intro sequences are the best part of 007 movies. The rest is housewives on Chardonnay trying to keep up with the current action movies. Okay, Racy, you are not ineloquent. I thought you were. But you're making complex sentences in English. I don't know what I was thinking. Who was I thinking of? Because I swear, I thought it was you. I thought you were the guy who couldn't speak English. But every comment you've left on this stream is perfect English. I can understand it pretty well. But yeah, the intro sequences are pretty cool, I guess, on 007. But I have more planned. So let me shrink this down. So I'm an expert. So if you notice behind me, I have a bookshelf full of history books. I'm a history aficionado. I love history. But that also translates to geography. I'm actually a pretty good geography expert. And so there's this test I found on Sporkle that challenges you to find all the countries without any borders. There's no borders on the map. Also, the third tooth over the gums is why some anime girls have that little fang for a feisty look. Though I know you don't watch anime. You know I don't watch anime. Hey, you know a thing or two about me. Yeah, I don't watch anime. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the little fang on the anime girls. Yeah, but I love my teeth. I think I have great teeth. Anyway, I'm great at geography, so I'm going to see if I can pass this test. No borders. France, that's easy. France is right here. Kyrgyzstan. Okay, so Iran is right here. I only have 20 minutes to do this, so I've got to be economical with my time. Iran is right here. Afghanistan is right here. Kyrgyzstan has got to be like... well, I already failed. So let me replay this. And this time, I'm going to skip the ones that I know I can't make. I'm going to skip the ones that I know it's too close to call. Comoros, way too close. I don't know that one. Central African Republic. DRC is right here. CAE. I hit that. Come on, I hit that. Okay. No playing around now. We're just gonna skip all the ones I can't get. Togo, can't get. Bosnia, can't get. Samoa. No. Chile. I can get that one. That one's right here. South Africa. Dominican Republic. Honestly, I'm thinking I could probably have gotten Bosnia because that's right here. I shouldn't have underestimated myself. Bosnia is pretty easy because Croatia borders it, but Bosnia is really easy. Paraguay, no thanks. Ethiopia, bada boom. Madagascar, Brunei. See, that's too subtle because it borders Malaysia and it's a really tiny country. Too subtle. Libya, Georgia. Ooh. Ah, yes. Peru. China. Nigeria. Rwanda. Nope, I'm skipping that. Belize. I'm guessing it's right here. There we go. United Arab Emirates. It's that little triangle on the Arabian Peninsula right there. Norway. That's easy. That's the penis. No, actually, Sweden is the penis, and then Finland is the balls. If you look at it like this, this is the penis, Finland, and then Sweden. This is the penis, Sweden, and then Finland is the balls. Okay, I already got busted on Central African Republic the first time, so I'm not doing that. Israel. Right here. Right? Okay, there we go. Azerbaijan. That's in this little corner here on the Caucasus region. There we go. St. Vincent, that's a Caribbean one I can't do. Haiti. Right next to Dominican. Nicaragua. Right here. Tanzania. Tanzania it's in West Africa. It's German West Africa from the old days. There we go. Indonesia. Venezuela. Bahamas. Serbia. Ooh, that's a hard one. Should I risk it? Because Romania's right here. Bulgaria's right here. Serbia. Oh, I got it. Ireland. It's always harder to get the ones when they're right in the middle of something and you can't figure out what the borders are. South Sudan. Ooh. So Sudan is right here and South Sudan is like... There we go, yes. Bangladesh. There we go. Austria. Ooh, this one's hard. This one's really hard. Yeah. My English gets bad when I make sentences and certain words shorten to reply faster. Sometimes like a rush text message. You got me there. Okay. Yeah, just don't rush it when you talk to me, man, because I can't understand you, Racy. Austria. Oof. Hungary is right there. Austria is like... Oh, thank God. Cuba. United Kingdom. Jordan. Okay, we can't get it from this little map, micro map there. So Jordan. Okay, thank God. Cabo Verde. I think it's right here. There we go. Vanuatu. Skipping it. Barbados. Tajikistan. I can't. No, I'm skipping that one. There's no way I can accurately guess that one. Vatican City. No, I can't accurately guess that. I know where it is, but I can't like point exactly to it. Liberia. I feel like Liberia is just right on the coast, right? Yep. Latvia. There's Estonia, and then there's Latvia right here. Tuvalu. That's a Pacific one I can't get. I'm not good at the island ones really, so I'm gonna skip most of those. Estonia. Come on. Japan, that's easy. Myanmar. Panama. Sao Tome and Principe. Well, that's bullshit. I could have sworn it was that one right next to Africa. Well, apparently I only got 18%. Fuck this test. I could have gone on way longer, man. You play the Central European countries like I would US states? I thought you were British for like 4 months until I watched one of your older videos and heard Carson City. 1968. You thought I was British? What? And Carson City. When did I say Carson City in one of my older videos? I don't remember that. Because Carson City is nearby where I live, but it's not where I live. I live in Reno. But why would you think I'm British? I'm clearly American. I don't sound British. If I were British, I would sound like this. I would be talking like this if I were British. I talk like an American. Okay. I'm going to find a better Sporkle quiz on geography. Okay, this I know I can do. 1968 says, I don't know, maybe just the flags and history stuff, and you do sound a little European. I don't sound European, though. I speak in a more elevated American accent, but I don't sound European. I really don't. I sound maybe like a tiny bit, but mostly I'm American. It's your Welsh flag. I mean, I have a Welsh flag, but that doesn't mean I'm Welsh. Like, do I sound Welsh? Do I sound Welsh? Because this is what Welsh people sound like. They sound a bit like this. I don't think I sound Welsh. You sound very elegant. Well, thank you, 1968. Thank you very much. And I think you mentioned it in an old video, or maybe a vet, and I don't remember referencing Carson City. I don't remember that. But I guess I must have. But this one I'll be much better at. This is way easier. There's only 50 of these. Florida, boom. America's penis, Georgia. Nevada. Okay, so California is here. Nevada is right here. West Virginia. Oof, this one's hard. Okay, Virginia is right here. West Virginia is right here. Fuck, that's where I clicked, man. I swear that's where I clicked. All right, let's replay. Indiana. Another hard one to start off with. So, Ohio is right here. Indiana. That's where I clicked. I swear, they're so dishonest. Okay. Arkansas. Louisiana is here. Arkansas is here. Pennsylvania. Illinois. Illinois is like there. Nebraska. Okay. Kansas is right here. Nebraska is like right here. There we go. Minnesota. Maryland. Massachusetts. Florida. South Dakota. New Mexico. Delaware. Hawaii. Ohio. I clicked Indiana on accident. God damn it. I should have known better. That was my fault. That's the one I will admit that was my fault that time. I should have been more careful. All right, let me find another quiz. Okay, this one's interesting. It looks like I have 15 minutes to name all the countries. Is that what's going on? Okay. Canada, USA, Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Nicaragua, Honduras, Panama, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Bahamas, St. Kitts and Nevis, Grenada, El Salvador, Colombia, Jamaica, Haiti. No, I already did that one. Cuba. Venezuela. Guyana. Suriname. Brazil. Ecuador. Peru. Bolivia. Paraguay. Uruguay. Chile. Argentina. Ireland. UK, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Austria, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Italy, San Marino, Vatican, Monaco, Spain, Andorra, Portugal, Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden, Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, Czechia, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Slovakia, Slovenia, Switzerland, Macedonia, Greece, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Moldova, Albania, Montenegro, Hungary. What am I missing in that region? Oh, Serbia. God, there's one more I'm missing. Serbia, Hungary, Cyprus, Tunisia, Malta. God, what am I missing in that region? I did San Marino. I did that one. Slovenia. I did that one. Croatia. I did that. I did Bosnia and Herzegovina. Oh, Kosovo. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Jordan, Israel, Palestine. Is that? Oh, yep, it is. Lebanon, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Yemen, Oman, Pakistan. I did Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, India, Bhutan, Nepal, Tajikistan, China, Mongolia, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Myanmar, Bangladesh. No, it's with an A. Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Comoros, Seychelles, Madagascar, Mauritius, Nauru, Tonga, Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, Brunei, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam. Oh, I already did Vietnam? Okay. Vietnam. Okay. Laos, Thailand, Vietnam. What else? Singapore. Philippines. What the hell is in that peninsula? That Indo-Chinese peninsula? I got Vietnam and everything. Australia. Jesus. Fiji. Solomon Islands. Marshall Islands. Micronesia. French Polynesia. That's part of France, I guess. Marianas Islands. Northern. Okay, never mind. That's not one of them. Samoa. Let's do Africa. South Africa. Lesotho. Swaziland. Mozambique. Angola. Botswana. Namibia. Zambia, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, CAE, Central African Congo, Republic of the Congo, DRC. Well, that went through. I don't know why Congo didn't go through. Somalia, Eritrea, Djibouti, Mali, Sudan, South Sudan, Morocco, Liberia, Guinea, Equatorial Guinea, Bissau, Sao Tome and Principe, Gambia, oh god, what's the country that's sandwiched Gambia? Senegal. Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin, oh god. Okay, I'm getting to the ones. Alright. Timor-Leste, Papua New Guinea, Iceland. That's one I forgot. Mauritania, Chad, Niger, Cameroon, Gabon, Burundi, Malawi, Algeria, Libya, oh god, what's that country called? It's not Ivory Coast, it's the other one. It's not Senegal. Shoot. It's on the tip of my tongue. And what the hell is going on in Indochina? I got Laos and Vietnam. Those are the only countries in the area. Laos and Vietnam. There's no other countries there. Why is it just miscalibrated? Hong Kong? Nope, it's not miscalibrated. It's something in that area? I thought it was only Laos and Vietnam was in that area, in Thailand. What else could be in that area? I still have 3 minutes left on the clock. Any Caribbean countries I can remember? Martinique? Nope, that's French, apparently, still. Turks and Caicos? Nope. Virgin Islands probably aren't, because they're either British or American. What about Africa? I've got Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea. What did I not put in? I put Togo, right? I put Benin. What else is there? I put Guinea-Bissau. Bissau? Yep. That one round one down there is still bugging. Oh, Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone. Huh. There we go. That's one. And apparently there's one. Cabo Verde. There we go. That's what we're talking about. Sao Tome. Oh, I already did that one. Yeah, I already did that one. Oh, New Zealand hasn't been done yet. Okay. So I only have 12 more. I've named all the countries except for 12. Ah, God. Oh, Kiribati. I already got Tonga, Micronesia. Guam isn't a country, it's a territory. But I thought I'd try it anyway. Ah, man. Okay, we're at the end. Okay, Antigua and Barbuda. Oh, yeah, and I forgot about Trinidad and Tobago. That's another one, yeah. St. Vincent and Grenadines, yep. Barbados. St. Lucia. That's actually one that I never would have gotten, St. Lucia, because I don't even remember that being a country. Burkina Faso, that's, yeah, okay. I don't really remember that, but where is that, Burkina Faso? I don't even see that anywhere. Where the hell is that country? I don't even know where that is. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, Burkina Faso doesn't exist, even though I know it exists because I've heard of it. Ghana. That's right. Ghana's right next to Togo. Of course. Yeah, that's an obvious one I should have gotten. Cambodia. Oh my fucking God. I can't believe I forgot Cambodia. I thought Ghana was bad. I can't believe I forgot Cambodia. That one's like the most obvious ever. Oh my God. What an idiot. Oh my God, that's so stupid. That's so stupid that I forgot Cambodia. That's like such an important country. Palau, Tuvalu, of course, and Vanuatu, of course. God, most of those are just, of course. I freaking... Okay. I got good at U.S. states when I started watching storm chaser videos on YouTube, bring to new perspective on geography and meteorology around the U.S. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of tornado videos too on my Forever Dirt channel. Did you just have a second guess moment when entering Palestine and putting it through? I did. Well, because I wasn't sure if they were going to count it. Yeah, because it's not a guarantee, is it? But you can see I got 186 out of 197 in 15 minutes. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, well, that was pretty much all that I had planned for today. So, I had fun streaming. It was a lot of fun. I'll